So normally what I do when I'm doing these show-off videos is they're normally the fancy box sets, the multiple disc sets or the cool box art or something really, really cool about the set. Generally, I don't really review what appears to be just like a regular Blu-ray. This isn't a regular Blu-ray, which is why I'm doing the video for this. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie The Outsiders from 1983. I mean, if you look at the cast list, see Thomas Howell, Matt Dillon, Ralph Macchio, Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, Diane Lane, Emilio Estevez, Tom Cruise, Leif Garrett. It's directed by Francis Ford Coppola. It is a really good film if you haven't seen it. It reminds me a lot of the classic Rob Reiner film Stand By Me in the way it feels, the way it's made, the way it's acted. It just feels like it could well be a cousin to that sort of film. Now, The Outsiders was a film that I did see around 83, 84. But what's very special to me is The Outsiders, the book, was actually the first ever book that I bought way back when. I was so obsessed with movies that the fact that there was a book coming out that was based on a film, I'm like, I need to get this. So there I was, guessing around 12 years old at the time, just checking this book out. It's really, really good. So I bought the this Blu-ray a couple of weeks ago in the Amazon sale because it's a different version of the film. I was familiar with the theatrical version of The Outsiders, which runs for just over an hour and a half. But then we have something which I remember coming out a few years ago called The Outsiders, the complete novel. Now, as Francis Ford Coppola has done with a few of his films, he's gone back and he's re-edited them and he's remastered them and brought them back out in slightly different versions. Dementia 13 is another one, the Godfather trilogy, certainly with Godfather 3, where the Godfather Coda came out. So he does like to tinker with his movies, and I'm okay with multiple versions of films. So I wanted to see what this extended version of The Outsiders was. The film itself, the complete novel, is around 22, 23 minutes longer than the theatrical. What I didn't realize, and what makes this Blu-ray so special, is that it has both versions of the movie in there. Now on the back, it does mention that, obviously look at disc 2, the restoration. It doesn't really say theatrical version on that. It does say The Outsiders, the complete novel, 2021 restoration, and then The Outsiders 2021 restoration. So you kind of think that that doesn't really scream out as theatrical version. But this was cheap enough. I think I got it for about £7.99 on Amazon. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go, even if it's just to watch the extended version. But I discovered on disc 2, along with lots of special features, the theatrical version does exist. So other than the 22 minutes of different footage or extra footage, which is it sounds really stupid to say it's extensive because it's 22 minutes. 22 minutes here, there, everywhere is still 22 minutes. But there are new beginnings, there are new middle scenes, there are new little subplots going on. So it's not just a case of 22 minutes had been hacked out from the end and just dropped back in for this version. It is threaded throughout the entire movie. So it's a different watching experience. Also, what I discovered watching these special features is that the music score is different on the complete novel. So Francis's father had composed the score for the original Outsiders. Francis obviously didn't want to say no to his dad because, it's his dad and his dad's a genius. So he sort of went, it's okay, I'll do the score. But then years later, Francis has gone back in and he's replaced a lot of the music with the songs of the day, the ones that the kids would have been listening to around their time. So you do have quite a big difference between version 1 and version 2. Also, there's quite a lot of extra features on this, as you can see. Now, for Patrick Swayze fans, there is a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff with Patrick that you've probably never seen before. There's lots of little clip interviews. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes photos. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes clips. So it is really nice to see stuff that you have not seen before. There is a lot of featurettes and stuff that feature the cast. Not all of the cast. Tom Cruise is sort of absent, but people do talk about some of the antics that Tom Cruise got up to. There's a very funny one where he has to do a backflip, and he talks about how, or rather, it's the author Susie Hinton who's talking to Tom Cruise about it, and Tom had eaten too much food, so wasn't able to do the backflip. So Susie took him across the road, made him eat raw eggs. Tom vomited his guts up and was able to do the backflip. So you do discover quite a lot of little gems in these special features. There is also 2 commentaries. Now, these are just on the complete novel, so it's the longer version you get. The first commentary is by the film's director, Francis Ford Coppola. If you've not listened to Coppola talk about his films before on commentaries, they're really good chat tracks. So I do highly recommend that one. The second audio commentary is from some of the actors. So we get Matt Dillon, C. Thomas Howell, Diane Lane, Rob Lowe, Ralph Macchio, and Patrick Swayze. Now, that commentary, I believe, was recorded around 2005. They are in the same room as well. I wasn't sure whether this was going to be a commentary made up of archival clips, but it doesn't appear to be, because these all do interact with each other a few times within the chat track. I haven't listened to the complete chat track yet. I was limited a little bit for time, but I listened to some of it. It did take maybe 2 minutes to kick in. So at one point when I put it on and the titles come up of the film and there was no talking, I'm like, is there actually a chat track on this Blu-ray? But there is, and they all have a good old chat, and it is it's very, very nice to sort of hear these guys and girls reminisce about a film from very, very early on in their acting career. We also get some featurettes. Stay in Gold, a look back at The Outsiders, that runs for 26 minutes. It's a really good featurette. There is a Susie Hinton, she's the author, who wrote the book when she was 16, I believe. She visits some of the locations. That's a 7-minute featurette. There's a casting of The Outsiders featurette, which runs for just short of 14 minutes. And that shows some of the casting, or the auditions from people that didn't get the roles, including Adam Baldwin. You see some stuff of him there. There's a readings featurette, which it wasn't the best. It runs for 7 minutes, where it's just some cast members just there with the book, reading like a paragraph or 2 of the book. There is an NBC News Today featurette from back in the day, runs for 4 minutes. There are 12 minutes worth of deleted scenes, which are very, very grainy, and there's no real commentary over those, but it's kind of cool to see the stuff that didn't make the grade, even in this extended version of the Outsiders. And finally, which was the first extra feature that I watched on this set, it's an 11-minute introduction by Francis Ford Coppola. I think that was also recorded 2005, but that may be wrong. That might be a 2021 restoration. You've got to look at somebody's hair and how old they look in an introduction to try and work out when. I suspect that probably was 2021, because we get a white-haired Francis talking about the version, why the complete novel exists, how the film came to exist, because that's quite an interesting story that involves school pupils writing a letter to Francis Ford Coppola going, hey, we've read this book, we think you should make this film. And then crazily enough, the film is out there, and like 40 years later it's still out there, and it's coming out in different formats and stuff. So whilst this Blu-ray may look just like a standard Blu-ray, there are a wealth of special features in there, and you will become an expert on The Outsiders if you work your way through them. Are you a fan of The Outsiders? I am. I'm feeling the need to go back and rewatch the other sort of Brat Pack movie, Rumblefish, which is a film that I haven't seen for an absolute age. But I really, really enjoyed taking a trip down memory lane and revisiting The Outsiders.